Definitely. But a good morning again. And we are live here in Lakers land again. I am Seven Mitchell. Happy Tuesday, September the 16th. Today on the menu, we want to talk about Dalton Connect 4. I want to talk about my boy because, being honest, it looked like this thing is almost over. The relationship between Dalton Connect and the Lakers, it's not looking good. But I do want to talk about what we have here. So let's break down, first of all, our second year guy, Dalton Connect, who, in my opinion, last year, he definitely showed some flashes of brilliance in his rookie campaign. Still a lot of growth areas that he can definitely improve in. There were times last year that I felt like that he didn't really get a fair opportunity. We all know about the trade that kind of blew up with him and Mark Williams. And I think that kind of tainted, the disconnect or the connection between this organization and Dalton Connect, especially going towards the end of last season. But Dalton Connect in his rookie campaign, he averaged what? 9 points a game, about 3 rebounds. He didn't average an assist. And I'm surprised. I didn't realize that Dalton Connect had played damn near almost 80 games last year. He played over 78 games, but it felt like he played a lot less because of the lack of support he seemed to be getting from, Coach JJ Reddick. As far as efficiency last year, over those 80 games, estimated he shot about 46% from the field, just under 40% from the 3 point line. His scoring prowess is definitely, I think, something that can be built off of, whether it's with the Lakers or any team in the NBA. I think that Dalton Connect has potential to have tremendous scoring pedigree. He was a conference player of the year back in SEC. He can create off the dribble, catch and shoot. Dalton Connect can also space the floor well. Um, to me, at an elite level, at least for a rookie, when you look at some of the strengths of Dalton Connect, coming out of his first year, I think he does have that deep shooting range. He made 9 3 pointers at one point in one game. His versatility offensively, he seems to be comfortable in the pick and pop, off ball movement. And, Dalton Connect with his length and things like that, he can definitely exploit mismatches with the quick release that he has and, just continue to work on that footwork. Offensively, I think his basketball IQ is pretty decent. I think Dalton Connect actually read defense as well. And, he can identify rotations to find open looks. I think the biggest improvement when you're talking about Dalton Connect's game is on the other side of the basketball court. And just like for most of the Lakers, it's the defense. It's the defense. And there's two terms that I want to kind of focus in on when we're talking about Dalton Connect this morning. We'll get into those two terms a little bit later, but it's basically the shot diet as well as switchability. I think those are two things that if the Dalton Connect is going to remain a Laker for whatever reason, those are two things that he could definitely work on. That's going to help his argument with keeping a spot on this squad. But when you're talking about his areas of improvement, when you're talking about the defense specifically for Dalton Connect, I think he needs to work majorly on navigating screens, the lateral quickness. Dalton Connect closing out on guards. I think his switchability is limited right now. He's a little bit of a mismatch liability against the quicker and the stronger players on these switches. I think that's something definitely that Dalton Connect can get better on. And I believe he will. I don't think that this is a type of situation where you can't grow, look at the game tapes and figure out how you get better. But I will be honest with you guys, keeping it real. His defense is definitely the shortcoming, I would say, of his game. But I think it's something that can be improved. I'm not saying that he'll wind up being some type of lockdown defender or anything of that nature, but I think we can see some valid improvement defensively from Dalton Connect. Also, when you talk about room for improvement, just the consistency in his shot offensively. He's a talented scorer, but Dalton Connect to me, when he was in the game, he's highly rhythm dependent. He needs to figure out how to manage his own shot diet. He can't be really jacking these ill-advised pull-ups in the first quarter. He needs to be very selective about his shot attempts, making them high efficiency attempts for real. To be honest, when you think of Dalton Connect as a high variance offensive piece, like I said, when he's in the rhythm, he's lethal. We seen Dalton Connect from the summer league to the beginning of the regular season last year. He was turned up. He got guts. He didn't really shy away from moments. Uh, but when he's off rhythm, he's a defensive and an efficiency liability. This is a rookie curve that I believe that Dalton Connect can definitely get out of, but it's going to be a tough call. It's going to be tough. And like I said, to be honest, I don't know what this relationship with Dalton Connect and the Lakers at this point is going to be. Just keeping it real with y'all, because it feels like the writing is clearly on the wall when we talking about Dalton Connect remaining a Laker. There's a lot of speculation and talk about Andrew Wiggins coming over from Miami. The Lakers seem to be very interested in possibly getting Andrew Wiggins in a trade with less than 30 days away from actual training camp, with less than 60 days, I believe, away from the start of the season. So we could see a possible move. And like I said, the reports of Andrew Wiggins coming into the mix. Now, the main name that the Lakers seem to have to give up if they are going to bring in Wiggins would be Rui Hachimura. But don't think for one moment that Dalton Connect's name won't be in that topic of conversation as well. I'm looking at reports the Miami Heat is also looking for a first round pick if they are going to trade with the Los Angeles Lakers for Andrew Wiggins. So that's going to be pretty interesting. But Dalton Connect specifically, like I said, if you ask me personally, I think that the Lakers experience, I think it's over. I think once the trade blew up the way that it was handled last year, um, I think it just made him feel like he wasn't wanted. And I'm glad as a rookie, Dalton Connect was able to see how the business actually goes in the NBA. I'm glad he was able to experience that sooner and early on in his career than later. So it's just a business. And I think he understands that wholeheartedly. But even when he came back to the Lakers, it just wasn't the same. I don't know what the disconnect was between him and JJ Reddick, but they just could not seem to figure things out. And when Connect did get some minutes, like I said, Joe, his rhythm was just up and down like a roller coaster, to be honest with y'all. I don't know what y'all really think about that, but you know, eh, it's just something about Dalton Connect systematically. It's just weird. It's definitely weird, but I like him. I still feel like the Lakers got to steal getting him in the first round. Where did we draft him last year? Did we draft him 15th, 17th, or 19th in the first round? I can't remember exactly what number Dalton Connect went, but to me, Lakers land, he's a steal. He's a steal. I think he can still be an asset to the Lakers, but mentally, if he's not here, if he don't want to commit because he feels some type of way about how things were handled, it might be better to just part ways with him, keeping it a buck. Now, I do want to get into a couple of the terms. I told you there were two terms that I wanted to focus in on this morning when we talking about Dalton Connect. I believe if Dalton Connect work on these two elements of his game, it will definitely help his argument with remaining as a Laker. Um, but if there's a bigger picture, I think that these two elements can help Dalton Connect on any team in the NBA, but I think he needs to work on them right now while he's in uniform with the Lakers. And that's number one, the shot diet, and number two, switchability. We're going to talk about first the shot diet for Dalton Knecht offensively. This is something that I feel like he definitely needs to focus on. Basically, Dalton Knecht is a scorer by nature. But the Lakers cannot afford, especially now that you got Luka and some of these other guys with a full training camp, JJ Redick under his second, coaching stint season. You can't afford to have Dalton Knecht taking like 15 and above low percentage shots per game in clumps. Like I told y'all, Dalton Knecht really needs to be smart and about the decision making of his shots. He can definitely create his own shot, but I think he needs to make a lot of high efficiency attempts. That's what he needs to focus on. Prioritize those catch and shoot threes, more than trying to come down the court and all this pulling up like you're Kevin Durant. Um, I think Dalton Knecht, figure out a way to leverage off ball movement a little bit more rather than just forcing, these isolation pull ups early in the shot clock. It doesn't do justice for the team. When you got guys like LeBron and Luka and Austin Reeves on the court, you want that ball to move around. You want to provide 2 to 3 quality attempts on each possession. And that's why rebounding comes into play. And that's another asset because of his length that I think Dalton Knecht, can help on the boards. The Lakers need to maximize damn near every possession. They need second chance opportunities. They need to bang on the glass. They're going to need that. Um, I think, Dalton Knecht offensively, again, rhythm is the key word offensively with Dalton Knecht, at least with me. When he does his heat check, do it responsibly. Only after a rhythm is established do I want to see Dalton Knecht pulling up from 25 feet, 30 feet. Not saying that he don't have range. I said he definitely has range. But just do your heat check responsibly. Avoid forcing these shots in transition when the spacing really, isn't ideal. These are things that I feel like JJ Redick and his coaching staff can help Dalton Knecht with. I believe also these are things that Dalton Knecht can, work on independently. I just don't know where the focus is right now because it seemed like the Lakers aren't, they don't love him. They don't want him. I don't know what happened. Um, Maybe they just see a bigger picture, a road or a path to success that doesn't include Dalton Knecht. I don't know, but I just feel like there are things that he can work on that could actually help the Lakers right now. And offensively, the shot diet is definitely one of them. On defense, like I said before, his biggest, I think, thing to work on would be the switchability. Dalton Knecht, he struggles when defenses forces switches. I can't even really speak it any other way. He's not an elite player laterally as far as movement. He does get exposed on pick and rolls against explosive guards, just like Austin Reeves does. I think for Dalton Knecht to survive a rotation on this Lakers roster, his switchability has to improve drastically, both on the ball and off the ball. That means that he needs to have and develop some quick footwork, hands positioning. It all matters. Defensive anticipation. It all matters. When you got guys like Marcus Smart, I think that's going to help. And this is why I was saying I love the addition of Marcus Smart. I think Marcus Smart is going to be one of the most valuable pieces, not so much from his individual production, his commitment to defense, his willingness to hold everybody accountable. I think that energy is contagious, and I think it's going to rub off on all the players, from the role players to the stars of the team. So I love Marcus Smart addition. I think he's going to help everybody mentally be a better defensive player. But Dalton Knecht, ultimately on defense, when we talk about the improvements and the switchability, he needs to definitely develop some quick lateral slides and some recovery speed. He needs to work on that. He needs to definitely improve his anticipation on the weak side help, and he needs to study more. He needs to study these opponent tendencies, stop gambling as much and getting out of position. But I like the potential. I like the upside in Dalton Connect. If I had my choice, I wouldn't want him to go. Being keeping it real. So I guess the $1 million question, y'all, is will he stay in Los Angeles? Like, what do y'all think? And there's so many questions that you can kind of pick, right? Is Dalton Connect worth keeping? What does he bring to the Lakers that they can't find nowhere else? Because of the trade, how the trade went, is it best for him to just reset, start with a new city on a new team? Is that best for his career? There's so many little questions, to ask when it comes to the Lakers and Dalton Connect going into his second season. But I'm just going to be honest, there's not a lot of answers out there if you ask me. I just don't see a lot of answers. It's a tough call. It's a tough call. But I think if Dalton Connect can evolve from being just a streaky shooter to somebody reliable, being a selective shooter offensively, and if his switchability reaches at least a league average standard, I think Dalton Connect, he's going to be. I think he'll be good to stay in LA or just good. Period. I think the whole thing with the Lakers, Dalton connecting the Lakers, they're not going to commit to him. He's not a guy, obviously, that they feel like that they're going to need for Luca, for a support system for Luca. It seems like they are willing to compromise that and put the uh, I guess put all the chips in now and try to win now. And I'm not really mad at that. You still got LeBron under contract for another year or two. So I definitely want to maximize the championship window for the Lakers. But beyond LeBron being gone, I thought Dalton Connect would have been a great piece to help build off of. Like I said, I felt like he was a steal. But right now, ultimately, Dalton Connect is high reward, high risk. He needs consistent shot discipline, and he needs some type of redefinement defensively just to justify the minutes that he's going to get. I think his ceiling is so real, but so is the cliff that the Lakers kind of have him on if he doesn't adapt. And it's like it's hard to adapt or adjust when you don't even get the opportunities. I'm just watching how JJ Redick handled Dalton Connect with his minutes last year after the trade specifically, and it confuses me. I just don't get it. And yeah, Dalton Connect, like I said before, he was streaky. There were definitely a lot of periods where Connect didn't warrant being on the court, but I feel like there's so many other elements that he could bring to the game other than scoring. Why didn't you find a way to get him in the playoff series versus the Minnesota Timberwolves? I'm not saying Dalton Connect couldn't be no hero or no savior, but you don't think that we could have used that youth and energy, that versatility, at least offensively, from Connect? Dalton Connect going into training camp, like I said, watch your shot diet, be very selective about your shots. And when it comes to switchability, just work on your footwork. I don't believe Dalton Knecht is ever going to be some type of lockdown defender that's going to be able to sit down in that chair and stay in front of everybody or guard somebody from 94 feet on down. I don't think he's that type of player. I don't have that expectation defensively for Dalton Connect, but it is definitely the little things I believe uh, that can get you right. So I'm not going to waste a whole bunch of time on Dalton Connect this morning, but I thought that it was important that we spoke on him because I don't honestly know how long he's going to be here. I really don't. But if he's going to be here, he has some improvements. But if we're going to ask for Dalton to connect to make these improvements, we have to give him an opportunity to do so. I have not seen Dalton Connect do anything wrong that would warrant him not getting any bump. He is not the only liability on defense. We got 2, 3 starters who ain't about nothing on the defensive end. I'm talking about Luka, who's doing a little bit of improvement, but Luka has never been no real defender. We know James play a lot of safety. LeBron ain't locking nothing down. We know Austin Reeves is a liability. D'Angelo Russell was a liability defense. Like, this is nothing new. This being real, this is nothing new. I just don't understand the Lakers' angle with Dalton Connect. But just being honest, he didn't make his argument any better with his production and his decision making last season in the second half, post the Mark Williams trade kind of blowing up. I think mentally he's done with the Lakers. And I don't blame him, but you still have a job to do. And going into your second season, we discussed the numbers. The reality of it is, as long as you are under contract, there's a responsibility that you have. And those little things that I talked about, the shot diet and the switchability, just to name a couple, those are things that Dalton Connect can work on that could definitely help the Lakers or just help him individually for another team. Because every moment that Dalton Connect is out on the basketball court, it's audition. It's an audition for a lot of these Lakers that we're about to see in the next 30 to 60 days. They don't have money to be grabbing stars. There's no stars available really in free agency. If the Lakers are going to make a significant roster move anytime soon, it's going to be through a trade. And in a trade, you and I know that in order to get something, you have to give up something. So you're going to need the Rui Hachimuras of the world, the Dalton Connects of the world, the Gabe Vincents of the world, the Maxi Klebers of the world. You're going to need these guys to play well starting off early this season, not only for your own personal gain or your own personal warrant, but if these guys are going to be put in some type of trade package, no team is going to want them unless they see progress from that player. We already know what the Miami Heat is asking for in the Andrew Wiggins trade. Nobody in the NBA is going to do the Lakers a favor. Nobody is going to help LeBron and company win a championship without trying to pull something from them. So if the Lakers do decide to make a trade before the deadline, or at least before December, they better be very, very careful not to make the wrong move and not to give up the wrong piece in order to bring in what you think is the right piece. In order to get Andrew Wiggins, for example, you're more than likely going to have to give up Rui Hachimura. Is Rui Hachimura untouchable? Hell no. Can you just afford to give up Rui Hachimura and Andrew Wiggins don't fill the void offensively? We know what he can do defensively. And Wiggins he got a game offensive as well. But, we talk about his availability, the ankles. I think he missed like the last 15 games down that main stretch for Golden State last year, due to injuries. And I'm going to always say the biggest ability to have in any sport is availability. You got to be out there on the court or on the field to be able to produce. It doesn't matter what the box score say, what your numbers stay, what stats mean. If you're not able to play, none of that shit actually matters. So, me, honestly, I'm going to be real, y'all. And I know some of y'all probably disagree. I don't feel like this is the championship roster automatically for the Lakers. But for right now, don't fuck it up. Don't make no trades. I know for a fact that once we get to December, that's going to be the toughest stretch for the Lakers this season. The easiest part of the schedule for the Lakers is the beginning, up until December. Once we hit Christmas, from Christmas to the end of the year, the schedule for the Lakers is ridiculous. Ridiculous. So the Lakers need to start off early, strong. And in my opinion, I feel like, you just go with what you have. Make a true evaluation of the team. Remember, Luka got traded mid-season. This is the first full training camp that Luka has with the Lakers. DeAndre Ayton, Marcus Smart, Jake LaRavia. This is the first time these guys in its entirety can really figure out what they have or don't. If I'm Rob Pelinka, because I don't see any blessings falling out the sky immediately, I would just be patient. Bro. I'm not saying stick with these guys for the remainder of the year, but just don't rush it. Fall back, allow Luka, allow James to do their thing as facilitators. See what other guys can step up from those guys' leadership. Luka is going to make so many players better on the Lakers. Jackson Hayes, for example. Luka's going to make these guys look good. Christian Coloco. Luka's going to make these guys look much better than we've seen. I promise you. And defensively, Marcus Smart, his attitude, his energy, his behavior, like I said, him willing to hold people accountable, that's going to benefit players like Bronny James. And if they bring in Andrew Wiggins, another defensive mind, like it's all about chemistry. Just give it a chance. 30 to 60 days. That's really all I'm asking at this point. Go into training camp with the roster that you have now. Get a feel of who's valuable at this point and who's not. I don't even want to think about last year and the years of Darvin Ham. I know the core of the Lakers were Austin Reeves, LeBron, and Rui. They've been here for a minute. But I'm not even thinking about the past. This is a new day. Under new ownership. You've brought in an international generational talent in Luka. My advice to the Lakers and Rob Pelinka specifically is to be patient. And it's so weird, y'all, because y'all know here on Lakers land for the last 2 years, all we do is rush Rob Pelinka to get his ass up and actually make some moves. We've been criticizing Rob Pelinka bitch ass for not making moves for 2 off seasons now. But I do think right now is the time to just go into the season with this roster, find out the assets, find out the liabilities, and then go for a trade towards Christmas when the schedule really gets hard. Because if you move too early and make a trade now, you better hope everybody remains healthy. It's just a lot. It's a big risk. Either way you go. So ultimately, do I feel like this Lakers team is good as constructed for the remainder of the season? No. This is not a championship team. But I just feel like I don't know who's going to be more reliable than the next man on this team. even though a lot of players are returning. It's just a new vibe. It's just a new vibe. So y'all let me know what y'all think about Dalton Knecht. Do y'all see him staying? Do y'all see Dalton Knecht going? Honestly, y'all, I feel like at the end of the day, if a move is going to be made, Dalton Knecht name will be wrapped up in it. His game, the potential is attractive to, I believe, almost every NBA team. And he's still under that rookie contract, so it's not like it's a lot of money involved with him right now. He won't be the main piece in a trade, uh, but I just feel like the relationship with him and this organization is done because of what happened with that trade last year. I think mentally he's done with this organization. But as long as Dalton Knecht is in uniform, there is no excuses. There's no excuses for him. There's no excuses for Bronny James. There are elements to your game that you need to work on. I don't want to hear anything about a sophomore slump. These things I feel like when we talk about switchability on defense and shot diet on offense, those are two things that Dalton Knecht can definitely highlight, tackle, and I believe be successful in, whether it's with Los Angeles or another team. Point blank, period. I'm about to sign off for the morning. I will be back live this afternoon with another edition of Lakers Land. But we had to talk about Dalton Knecht real quick this morning because, again, I don't know how long he's going to be here. I really don't. But, I like him. I like his upside. I don't like the way the organization handled him last year. But to be honest, he did not make his argument any better with the type of play that he gave towards the end of the year. And I can't blame him 100% on that. JJ Reddick did not expect. Dalton Knecht was showing off at the beginning of the season. He had a 37-point night, I believe. Y'all remember what he did to Kevin Durant in Phoenix Suns, like the first couple games of the year? He went crazy on KD and them. He had 9 3-pointers, I think, one game. Dalton Knecht to me is the real deal, potentially. And I think he can definitely help the Lakers. They obviously see something else. I'm not trying to dispute that, but I just feel like, bro, just be patient. Patience at this time is a virtue. And I think it'll benefit LA. Y'all let me know, though. I'm Seven Mitchell. This is Lakers Land. I'll catch you guys later on this afternoon on the official live stream, but I had to come at you guys early. When we do, I'll take the term segments on these Laker players as we get ready. We about 30 days, a little less than 30 days away from training camp, and we are less than 60 days away from opening night. So it is going down. Y'all stay safe. I'll catch you guys later on this afternoon. I am out. Peace, everybody.